Hello there, I am Sleepy Tunes, and I am here to help you. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so please, like the video and subscribe. Also, what time are you watching and where are you from? Now get comfortable and enjoy the tales. While everyone has been swimming and partying this summer, I've been spending my summer in a small, dusty, hot as hell thrift shop. My parents forced me to work for my Aunt Gigi because of the lollipop incident. Long story, the bottom line is that I could have spent all summer working on Dawson, but instead I was stuck in this hellhole. You'd think at almost 20 my parents would give me some leeway. I guess not. You can't wear those shoes here, Aunt Gigi said, pointing to my neon pink flip-flops. Why not? When you're working here, you're the face of my business, she replied. Part of that is wearing nice shoes. Besides, there's lots of heavy stuff here. You could break a toe while doing inventory. I rolled my eyes. Closed toe. Shoes only, Nadia. I mean it. She shuffled back into her office and came out with some musty-looking sneakers. What size are you? I scrunched my face at her. These are 9 South. They'll fit, right? I took the shoes and squeezed my feet into them. These are small 9 South, I told myself. Ah, who are you kidding? You're a 10 wide on a good day. Part of the territory with being a fricking giant. Good enough, I said, giving her a thumbs up. Was going to rip them off as soon as she was out the door. All right, I'm heading out, she told me. Someone's supposed to come in to buy the rug this afternoon, so don't hide out in the back like last time with those ear things in. AirPods, I corrected her. She waved me away, like I wasn't worth her time. Someone's really coming in to buy the rug. We'd gotten it yesterday, and it was completely awful. It looked like the love child of an ugly brown shag carpet from the 70s and some sort of animal pelt. Long brown synthetic fibers, almost like fur, in a huge rectangle. And Aunt Gigi was asking $400 for it. In retrospect, I should have thought that was kind of sus. But at the time, I just thought she was being greedy. It's a large rug, and great condition for its age, she told me. It looks like shit. I replied, language. I rolled my eyes behind her back. The rug wasn't the only thing in the store that gave me a visceral reaction. She had a whole collection of those tiny porcelain figurines with the sad eyes precious moments. I think they're called. I'd seen her sell those though, for crazy prices, 2 little old white ladies by the dozen. And there was the glasswork lamp with an abstract design on it that reminded me of eyes. It made me think of those butterflies that had eye patterns on their wings to confuse predators. It kind of creeped me out. Are you sure you'll be okay without me? Aunt Gigi asked as she grabbed her bag. I'm sure. I wasn't sure. She'd taught me how to use the logbook, an online inventory system, but I hadn't completely been paying attention. I'd been sending Dawson texts that he was leaving on read. I'd just have to wing it. Aunt Gigi walked out the door, and then I was alone. Just me and all this stuff. I knew the basics of the inventory. Gigi didn't use barcodes, but each item was tagged with a number. I could look up the number on the computer or in the logbook and find the price and other information. I sat down at the desk and stared across the shop, through the motes of dust, towards the window. Wow, what a beautiful view of the concrete. Apartment building next door. Giselle's Thrifty Finds was set on Orchard Street, which was really just a glorified alleyway. I sat down at the desk and pulled out my phone. Texted Dawson again. Work is so boring. The check marks appeared, but he didn't reply. Frowning, I tossed the phone on the desk. I got up and began to pace, since there was nothing else to do. I kicked off the sneakers and put my back on, treading over the ugliest rug. Item number 319, according to the tag. I wondered if Aunt Gigi had only ever sold 300 items, or if she recycled item numbers. She'd been in business 10 years, so she must have sold more than 300 items, right? Although the store was usually empty. I turned around to pace again, the long shag hairs of the carpet brushing my toes. And then it happened. My foot caught on something. Gum. Oh yuck. What is it with his rug? I yanked my foot up, but the seam stuck fast to the brown fibers. Gross. I yanked my foot again. Hard. My flip-flop popped clean off. The straps flew up into the air, my arms pinwheeled. The sole stuck fast to the rug. And then I watched in horror as the rug engulfed it. The brown furry fibers grabbed onto it, moving over the plastic like each hair was a tiny caterpillar. The shoe sunk into the brown fur, and then in seconds, it was gone. I scrambled off the rug, horrified. What the actual fuck? I began to panic. But then I remembered that random famous Reddit post about carbon monoxide poisoning and ran out into the alleyway. I gulped down fresh air, 1 foot bare. A passing woman raised her eyebrows at me. I gave her a death glare back. After 5 minutes, I went back inside. The hairs of the rug were undulating slightly, like there was a breeze moving over its surface. But there was no breeze, and the flip-flop was still gone. I called Aunt Gigi. She didn't answer. I called again and again, until the bells above the door jangled. I looked up to see a man entering the store. He was tall and thin, wearing a long trench coat. A brimmed hat kept his eyes, and most of his face, in shadow. He didn't even so much glance around, he just made a beeline for my desk. "Can I help you?" I asked. His ice blue eyes narrowed in the shadows. "Where's Giselle?" he asked in a low voice. "I'm her niece. She asked me to work today." He was silent for a moment as he stared down at me. Then he spoke. "I'd like to buy the rug." My heart sank. "The rug," I croaked. "Yes. Is that a problem?" He opened his wallet and plucked $400 bills from it, placing them on the desk. 400, right. Yes. I took the money, not even checking if the bills were counterfeit. On shaky feet, I led him over to the rug. The hair on it was still. "I need to warn him. The rug," I said, choking on my words. I don't know how to say this, but it ate my shoe." "Oh, so it's working then?" I glanced up at him, my heart pounding. "Help me roll it up, will you?" I swallowed. Then I crouched onto the floor and slid my fingers under the rug. It felt oddly warm. I cringed as my fingers brushed the brown hairs of it. I could tell. They weren't completely still, devoid of life. They responded slightly to my touch. Caressing my fingers, my stomach lurched. I worked as fast as I could, rolling the rug up. It was heavier than it looked, and by the end of it, my arms were aching. "Could you help me get it in the car?" he asked. I lifted the end of it without a word, and the two of us shuffled out the door and to his car. I helped him load it in the back of his pickup truck. "Thank you," he said, tilting his hat at me. Then he got in the driver's seat, and with a roar of the engine, drove away. I went back into the store, my whole body shaking. I put the money away in the cash register and stared at the wall for several minutes, trying to process everything. That happened then. I pulled out the logbook and marked item number 319 as sold. When I returned the logbook, I noticed the book next to it. It was a narrow binder, same as the logbook but on the spine. Aunt Gigi had written manual instead of logbook. Curious, I pulled it out. It was filled with pages that I could only describe as photocopies of textbooks or scientific documents. It looked like each page had a number at the top, and then lots of information underneath them, sometimes arranged into tables. There was one problem. The titles didn't say things like Ethan saying, but entity number 100. I flipped to entity 319 and, stomach dropping, began to read. Entity number 319, Class II presentation. Entity number 319 appears to be a brown shag rug, consistent in style with shag rugs manufactured in the 1970s. It most commonly measures 72 inches long and 48 inches wide, but it is known to shrink or grow based on the size of the room. Its internal temperature measures at 76 degrees Fahrenheit, and chemical analyses show that carbon dioxide measures slightly higher in the room where it resides. When inactive, #319 poses no threat to humans or pets. Safety precautions. Number 319 will enter its active state if touched by bare feet. Closed-toed shoes are a must. Recovery procedures. Unfortunately, there is no current known method of recovering lost items or persons from entity number 319. Origin. 319 was originally found in the home of recently deceased Ms. on Street in Ohio. The home was built in the 1970s and purchased by house flippers at a steep discount. During renovations, one of the contractors went missing while pulling up the shag carpet in the living room. According to security camera footage, no one exited or entered the building at that time. Brought it to the facility under suspicion it may be an entity. I stared at the page, my mind swimming. Then I read it again. It was like reading something in a foreign language, but I also couldn't deny that I felt its warmth, saw its fibers move, saw it engulf the sole of my flip-flop. Aunt Gigi knew. She told me to change shoes. I grabbed my phone and called her again. She didn't pick up. What the hell is going on here? I sat there, staring into space, and then I saw it, my foot. The one the rug had grabbed. There were hundreds of tiny red specks on the skin, like little pinpricks, and they began to itch. I ran to the bathroom and stuck my foot under the water, desperately scrubbing at my skin. I hoped that when I called Gigi again, she'd pick up, this time. I finally got a hold of Aunt Gigi. When I explained to her what happened, she went completely ballistic. I told you to wear closed-toe shoes. They were uncomfortable. I snapped back. But seriously, what the fuck is going on here? It's complicated. Okay, well, tell me at least, how do I stop the itching? A sigh. Go to the bathroom in the back. In the medicine cabinet, there's a blue tube labeled aloe salve. I walked down the back hallway that led to her office and the bathroom. This part of the store always creeped me out, even when I was a kid. A long, endless hallway shrouded in shadow with no ceiling lights. I walked into the bathroom and swung open the mirrored cabinet. Wow, that doesn't look right. I'd expected orange bottles with pharmacy labels on them. Instead, the shelves were lined with glass bottles and vials. One bottle had what looked like feathers in it. Another held various colors of sand cream, taupe, beige, pink. I riffled through them until I found the blue tube with a piece of masking tape stuck to it that read, in sloppy handwriting, aloe save, this one, with the masking tape and salve misspelled. Yeah. Against my better judgment, I squeezed the tube. Green-colored paste shot out that smelled foul, like rotting vegetation in a bog. I rubbed it over my foot. It stung pleasantly, like mint. "Okay, now, you're going to tell me what's going on," I demanded, cradling the phone to my ear as I washed the gook off my hands. "I can't tell you," Aunt Gigi replied. "You're just going to have to trust me." I don't trust you, actually, because you left your 19-year-old niece with a rug that eats people. If you'd just followed my instructions, we wouldn't have had a problem. If you don't tell me what's going on, I'm telling Mom. Dead silence on the other end. "Okay, I'll be back in about an hour, and we can talk then. I promise." I sucked in a breath. Fine. I ended the call and put the tube of gross swamp goop back in the medicine cabinet. Then I hobbled back, out into the store. In the few minutes I'd been in the bathroom, the weather had radically changed. The concrete apartment building was no longer bathed in summer sunlight. It was now flecked with rain. I couldn't see the sky, but everything was much darker, and I imagined pitch-black storm clouds rolling in. A sudden summer squall. The rain drummed on the roof, suddenly intensifying like a crescendo. A woman and her child hurried down the sidewalk, getting drenched. Water began to pool in the gutters. I was secretly relieved. At least the rain meant I wasn't missing any fun. I sat back behind the counter. The store was much darker now that the storm had rolled in. I went round flicking on all the lights, the brass lighting fixtures overhead, and the 2 iron wrought sconces on the wall, bathed the place in warm, golden light. I paced again, staring at the glass display of Precious Moments figurines, then past the painting of the woman dressed in black, standing on the balcony of a lighthouse and looking down at the sea. Maritime Widow read the piece of paper stuck onto the frame. I walked back towards the desk, past the rocking chair with the handwritten sign that read **Do not sit here**. I'd assumed Aunt Gigi put the sign there because she didn't want anyone breaking it. Now I wondered if there was another reason. Would the chair eat anybody who sat in it, just like the rug had engulfed my shoe? The rain became a torrential downpour. The drumming on the roof sounded like thousands of tiny hands descending from the sky and punching the metal. I sat back down at the desk and pulled out my phone. "Hey, I almost got eaten by a rug today," I texted Dawson. My thumb hovered over the send button, then I erased it. Screw him. Instead, I texted my best friend Kira the same sentence. She replied immediately, "What? You okay? Should I come over?" I smiled and texted her back, describing something weird going on at the thrift shop. As my fingers tapped the screen, the lights flickered overhead. Oh shit, are we going to lose power? I wondered. I chewed my lip. That would suck. The one air conditioner stuffed in the window was on its last legs, but it did cool the place somewhat. It would be absolutely sweltering in here without it. Plus, I wasn't a fan of the dark. "I think we might lose power," I texted Kira. "I'm coming over there. Was gonna go to the beach, but can't with the rain. Is it okay if I bring Elias?" Elias, Kira's older brother, who possessed that sexy older brother vibe. I'd had a crush on him when I was like 14, before I realized he was a total smartass and played video games all day. Well, who was I kidding? I still had a teeny tiny crush on him. Man, what is it with the allure of friends' older brothers? If I'd met him out in the wild, I never would have even taken a second look at him. I rolled my eyes, smirking. "Yes, you can bring Smelly Ellie," I texted back. Luell, stop calling him that. The lights flickered again. This time, they stayed suspended in a half-dim mode for several seconds, making an odd buzzing sound, casting strange, brownish gold light over everything. Ugh. The rain pulled back slightly, and then the heavens opened. Rain pelted on the roof, dripping down the windows in rivers. The ripped awning fluttered in the wind like it was fighting with a ghost. And then, without warning, the lights went out. The thrift store was dark, really dark. The shop is much longer than it is wide, so the light from the windows didn't even touch the back of the store. The furniture and other goods all became nondescript silhouettes, detailers, like putty ready to be formed into monsters by my over-paranoid imagination. The fan and the AC slowly rattled to a stop. Fucked, we lost power. I texted Kira. I turned my phone's flashlight on and got up. Everything thrown into relief from the white light. The white light swept over the furniture, the walls, the hardwood, floor, but something looked different. I scanned the store more slowly this time, sweeping the flashlight across the store once more. My heart plummeted. The Maritime Widow painting. There was only the lighthouse and the sea. The woman was gone. What the... I ran back over to the desk and grabbed the manual. I flipped through it, looking for entity number 099, the number that had been stuck to the painting. Heart pounding. I began to read. Entity number 099, Class V presentation. Entity number 099 is an oil painting on canvas, measuring 48 inches wide and 32 inches tall. It depicts a woman asterisk wearing 19th century funeral dress, standing on the observation deck of a lighthouse. When the painting is inactive, her back is to the viewer. Despite the painting closely resembling 19th century Impressionism, there are no visible brushstrokes, even under a microscope. Safety precautions. Number 099 is activated in darkness. When the light level drops below 50 lux, it is highly recommended that painting resides in a brightly lit room at all times. A backup lighting system is a must. When the light drops below 50 lux, the woman in the painting subentity number 099A, colloquially known as the widow, will escape the painting. The escape time is estimated to be 12.5 seconds. If the light levels return to normal during this window, #099er will not leave the painting. See activation times for Class V entities, 2013, Schneider, ETL. Recovery procedures. While the widow number 099A remains inside the painting cannot be destroyed. It is impervious to fire, sharp objects, and chemical damage. However, when she is outside the painting, entity number 099 can be destroyed by touching silver at least 18/10 grade to her skin. *** origin. #099 single quotes us origin is unknown, as survivability is estimated to be under 10%. * figure is only presumed to be a woman, exact gender is unknown. ** number 099er does not have true skin, as the entity can pass through walls and other solid objects. For more information on solid pass-through, also known as guided molecular reformation, see Appendix E. I shut the manual and leaped out of the chair. I made my way towards the front of the store, flashlight sweeping across the room. No, she was standing there, the woman from the painting, wearing a black dress that reached the floor, melting into the shadows, a lace veil completely obscured. Her face, oh fuck. I turned and sprinted down the hallway into the office. I slammed the door shut and locked it, then dialed Aunt Gigi. We lost power, I told her, breathless. And the woman from the painting? She's out. Shit, she hissed. The manual said you're never supposed to have it in darkness. Didn't you think to buy a generator or something? Okay, the woman. She can't go into the light, So get out of the store. The manual didn't say that. I know from experience, she replied, her voice grim. Okay, well anyway, it doesn't matter. She's standing between me and the store. I paced around the office, picking up various things, searching for silver. Is this fancy letter opener real silver? No, wait, Nadia, the painting is worth thousands of dollars. You can't destroy it. So what? You prefer I die? No, just get out of the store. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Just so the letter opener is silver, right? Yes. But please, don't use it unless it's a last resort. I ended the call, holding the letter opener in front of me like a sword. I opened the door and stepped out into the hallway. It was then that I realized. Forgot to tell Kira not to come. Kira and Elias were in the store. They were cowering behind the old, saggy sofa. Elias had a hand clapped over Kira's mouth. The widow paced slowly in front of them, as if she was searching for them. Could she see through the veil? Holding my breath, I took a step towards her. Old floorboards creaked underneath my feet. The widow's veiled face snapped up, and then she made a beeline for me. She almost appeared to float, her body barely bobbing up and down with every step, the hem of her dress melting into the shadows on the floor. I was suddenly frozen, petrified, staring at her as she approached. As she got close, I could see her, clearly see through the chinks in her black lace. While she didn't have a face, it was just a pale blob of color, like the artist had forgotten to add details. I lifted the letter opener, every muscle tensed. I took a deep breath and plunged it into her chest. Except it didn't go into her chest. She dodged in a split second, her body turning fuzzy, bleeding into the shadows. She straightened on, her gloved hand shot up to my neck. The letter opener clattered to the floor. Dots fluttered into my vision, choking out all other thoughts. I stared at her bare, smooth, mannequin-like face beneath the black veil. This is not how I fucking die. Darkness crept through my vision until the rest of the thrift shop melted away, and all I could see was her awful, blank face. I clawed at her gloved hand, but her grip didn't loosen, no. Clink, the widow turned around, then shattered to a million tiny pieces, like she was made of smoky black glass, pattering onto the ground. I was staring face to face with Elias. He was holding the letter opener, stabbing it into where her back was seconds before. I gasped for breath, beginning to cough. What's going on here? He asked, without any of his usual spassery. It scared me to see him so serious. Honestly, I don't know. Kira finally scrambled up, eyes wide. She made her way over to us on shaky legs. What? She croaked, then shook her head, as if talking at all was a horrible idea. I don't know, I replied. Your neck, she whispered. It looks awful, thanks. Seconds later, the door burst open, and Aunt Gigi ran in, panting. Her eyes glanced from me to Elias, to Kira, to the shattered black glass on the floor, to the painting on the wall which was now simply a blank canvas. Her mouth hung open in a silent, "Oh, you have a lot of explaining to do," I said, crossing my arms at her, her lips pressed into a thin line. I suppose I do. Aunt Gigi led us to her office. She closed the door, locked it, muttered to herself, "Damn 343 and its eavesdropping," and then took a seat at her desk. "I'm sorry, I should have told you everything sooner," she said, looking at the three of us grimly. "You think?" I snapped. I instantly regretted saying that, from the guilty expression on her face. "What's wrong with you?" I scolded myself. Aunt Gigi could have been indirectly responsible for killing us all. But one heartfelt apology and guilty look, and I want to forgive her for everything. Do I really have to tell your friends, too? She asked, looking skeptically at Kira and Elias. They saw everything, so, yeah. Besides, I'd say you owe me. She sighed. Okay. The thrift shop has been in my husband's family for generations. I think I'm the first person not related by blood to run it, though no one expected him to die so young. She sighed and put her elbows up on the desk. There was actually a bit of a legal battle where his uncle wanted to take it from me, but the will clearly left it to me. That was before I knew what it really was, of course. I would have gladly given it to his uncle if I knew. She shook her head. Kira plopped down on the floor, crisscross applesauce. Elias leaned against the back wall, looking tall and brooding, like he was thinking deep thoughts. Knowing him, though, he was probably just thinking about the classification of spiders or something. Aunt Gigi glanced to each of us, one by one, frowning. So, there are. She paused for a while, and then went with, people on this earth that need to buy things that are a little different. Some of the things sold here are dangerous, but it's better if they're vetted and regulated. There's an entire board for supernatural objects that I have to report to. They tell me which things I'm allowed to sell, and which ones I need to send back to them. Let me see. She grabbed a book off the bookshelf behind her and thumbed through it. Here's one I had to send back to them. She slid the book towards me. Entity number 824, Class V presentation. #8-4 is a pewter fork. It is 6 inches long, 1/4 inch thick, and 3/4 of an inch wide at its widest point. It has 5 tines and weighs 1.8 ounces. It has the imprint of a man's face on the top of the handle, which has its mouth wide open, as if screaming. Safety precautions. When number 824 is inactive, it is harmless and can be handled using Class 1 safety precautions. #824 is activated when the tines come into contact with any solid or liquid with a water content of over 30%. In one case, it was observed to activate in air when humidity reached 83 PERCENT Patel, ETL, 2004. At that time, it is theorized that a poison asterisk is secreted from the tines. Whoever ingests what the fork touches will become fatally ill. They will experience fever, sweating, dizziness, and hallucinations. They will die within 4 to 7 days, with the average being 5-.7. Not much is known about the person's experience after they ingest the poison. As they are usually unable to speak after day 2, they only scream. Recovery procedures. Number 824 cannot be destroyed with fire. It can withstand up to 10,000 psi, or possibly more, O'Keefe. 1997. There is no known cure for individuals affected. Because of this, it is recommended that number 824 is kept locked in a safe at 20% air humidity or lower. Origin. It is thought that number 824 dates back to Rome in the 4th century, when they began experimenting with material properties, such as using dichromatic glass in the Lycurgus cup. However, the entity's exact origin is unknown. Asterisk, while theorized to be a poison, the exact nature of the substance is unclear. It decomposes so quickly, thorough studies have been impossible. I got it from a traveling salesman, she said. Well, not literally. He wasn't a man, of course, but the board said no. Apparently, because it was so untraceable, it had been used in several murders already. They were glad to have it back. So the fork isn't okay, Elias said, reading over my shoulder. But the woman in the painting, who almost killed us, is. It's complicated. The painting was supposed to be picked up a few days ago. I was only keeping it for a little while, and you let me work here, alone, while you were in possession of it, I said, glaring at her. Look, I'm sorry. I'd forgotten about it. Okay, you were the one who didn't listen to my rules. About wearing closed-toe shoes and everything, she said back. Fair, I said. Sort of. Mum's going to be pissed, though. She paled. You're not going to tell your mum about this. I'm not. She'd kill me. Oh yes, she absolutely would. She glanced at Kira, then Elias, then back at me. Then her eyes narrowed. You're trying to negotiate with me, is that it? You want something. Spit it out then. You want money. You want me to pay you for the summer, and tell your mum you're working when you're out surfing or something. Fine, I'll do it. But if you ever breathe a word, that's not what I want. I looked at her squarely. I want the fork. Nadia, I can't kidding. I want you to employ Kira with me. Her job sucks. Her co-worker harasses her. Her boss makes her come in on weekends. I glanced down at her. No offense. She put up her hands, as if to say, nope, it's fine. Aunt Gigi's eyes narrowed, glancing from me to Kira. I don't know, she said. What if something in here injures or kills her? I'm going to be sued to all hell. My jaw fell open. That's what you're worried about. Well, obviously I don't want her to die, either. I'm just saying, I'll sign. A waiver, Kira cut in. I'll do whatever. You just have to educate us properly on the dangers. Because, like you didn't tell Nadia what was going on at all. This is a big ask, Aunt Gigi said. I pulled out my phone and started dialing. No, okay. She can work here. It's not my fault if she dies though. The waiver's going to say that. Asterisk. The first few days of the job went smoothly. Aunt Gigi gave us everything to read. The manual, the safety protocols, everything. I didn't think there would be homework, Kira groaned, as we pored over the manual on our break. It's better than working with Chad, though, isn't it? She sighed. Yeah. An hour after our break, on that third day, we had our first customer. Most of our work up until then had been reading, restocking, and sweeping the floor. We hadn't dealt with customers yet. Aunt Gigi always dealt with them if she was here, but today she wasn't, off to pick up some haunted table china in Rockville. The bell jingled. Kira and I looked at each other, excited, and then made our way to the front of the store. The safety manual had included a list of rules for how to interface with the not people, as Aunt Gigi so lovingly called them. I felt like they would be supremely offended if they knew we called them not people, but she said there wasn't a better word. They're other beings wearing people's skin, she'd said, so I suppose you could call them that. Skin wearers. Maybe, no, Kira and I said at the same time. The rules were simple. Don't make eye contact with them. Don't speak to them more than necessary. And don't ever ask them why they need to purchase what they're purchasing. This not person took on the appearance of an older gentleman. He had fluffy white hair and bent dramatically over his cane. He wobbled into the store, slowly scanning our wares, his thick mustache trembling with each breath. Aunt Gigi warned us that sometimes the not people looked off, uncanny like an early OOS render, or a drawing of a person by someone who'd never actually seen a person. This man was no exception. I didn't make eye contact with him, but I could tell his eyes were too close together. His face was too trapezoidal almost, with the cheekbones sticking out so far, and his arms weren't even the same length. "Excuse me, miss," he said in a warbly voice as he approached the counter. "Could you direct me to the fedora, please? Number 212. Wow, this guy, didn't screw around. He gave the number and all. "Not a problem," I said, riffling through the manual. "Entity number 212, Class II presentation. Entity number 212 is a fedora-style hat in a men's size 7. There is a small tear on the rim, but it is otherwise in good condition. When worn, it allows subentity number 212A, colloquially known as the demon, to take control of the wearer's body. The demon is a bit of a misnomer, as the behavior of number 212A is more poltergeist-like than demon-like, and there is no proof that it is associated with demons from Christian theology. Asterisk, safety precautions. Number 212 only activates if it is placed on the head, a living creature, human or animal. It will not be activated if it is touched by hands or other body parts. Recovery procedures. Removing the hat will immediately stop all effects. Origin, unknown, though the lack of stitchwork indicates this is not an ordinary object that was given. These qualities, but are created as a whole through supernatural means. Asterisk, more conventionally demonic. Behavior of number 212A has been reported from unverified sources. The Lynn scale classifies number 212 as class 4 because of these accounts. "Right this way," I told the man, leading him towards the back, where we kept our clothing items. There was a rack of a few dresses and a coat rack that held exactly one child's coat and one fedora-style hat. I carefully took it off the rack, keeping it far away from my head, and gave it to the man. "Here you go, payment up front." I stared, walking back towards the counter. I was halfway there when I felt pressure on the crown of my head. My entire body froze. I tried to take a step, but couldn't. My heart began to pound. He put the hat on me. I tried to lift my arms to take it off. "Nope, Kira," I screamed internally. "Where the fuck are you?" My body started to rotate. I turned towards the man and felt my lips turn up in a smile. "So we meet again," I heard my voice say, except it sounded so unlike me, filled with hate and venom, coming from low in my throat. I stepped towards the man. He flinched. "Have you thought about the deal?" I rasped. He nodded. "No, stop it. I want to proceed," he said, finally. "You remember our terms?" He nodded. "You will provide me a permanent host, and I will restore your youth." He nodded again. "Permanent host. Is this host sufficient?" he asked. "It is youthful and female, like you." A pause. "It is sufficient." "No," I screamed internally. "Get out of my head." But no matter how hard I tried to wrench my arms to my head, I couldn't lift a single finger. My heart pounded in my chest. Fuck. Get out. Kira would find me. She would take the hat off, and then it would all end. "Right, there is just one modification I would like to make," I heard my voice say. Then I wheeled around the room. I picked up an old silver knife, held it up to the light. Then I brought it closer to my face. I had blue eyes in my corporeal form. "Not brown," the voice said. Oh no. The pressure disappeared. Kira was standing in front of me, holding the hat. "What the fuck are you doing?" she screeched. "You're not supposed to put this on." He put it on me. I whipped around just in time to see the man escaping out the front door. "Oh no," Kira said, pointing to my eye. "Oh no." I touched the skin under my eye. My fingers came away red. "Is it bad?" I whispered. "'Tis but a scratch," Kira replied. And that's how Kira and I learned that not every customer of Gigi's is nice. In fact, sometimes the not people are more dangerous than the entities themselves. Aunt Gigi got back 20 minutes later. As soon as she walked in the door, I nearly assaulted her, shouting in her face everything that happened. I could have died. I whined as I followed her to her office. "You wouldn't have died. You would have still been alive, inside your body, just not in control of things. That's even worse. I'm sorry. I never should have brought you here." She shook her head, then looked up at me. Her eyebrows knotted. "Wait, what's that?" "This," I asked, pointing to the scratch below my eye. "That's when the demon poltergeist thing tried to gouge my eyes out with a knife." She paled. "Which knife, exactly?" Nadia, this is important." "Which knife? Wait." My heart began to pound. "You're not you saying the knife is an entity. Everything in this store is an entity," she shouted before getting up and hurrying out of the office. I should have thought of that. Of course, if I'd grabbed anything with a price tag on it, it was an entity. Of course. "Oh no." She came back with 2 knives. The first was what appeared to be a chef's knife, though the edge was browned with rust. The second was a thin dagger, possibly a letter opener, not the one from Aunt Gigi's office, that we'd stabbed entity number 099 with Dot. She set them on the desk before me. "Which one, Nadia?" "That one," I said, pointing to the letter opener. Fuck. Fuck, fuck, fuck. She buried her head in her hands. "What?" Without a word, she hurried past me into the shop. She came back, holding the manual, frantically flipping through it. Without a word, she plopped it down in front of me. Entity hashtag 047, Class Ivy presentation. An ornate letter opener, with a silver blade and an obsidian hilt. The blade is engraved with sigils that remain indecipherable. The hilt is engraved with a Viking rune that roughly translates to separation, safety, precautions. Number 047 is safe to handle by conventional means in its inactive state. It is activated by the presence of blood. If it touches the living blood of another human, it will temporarily translocate that human into MZ519, colloquially known as the Shadow World by recovery procedures, none known. Origin: number 047 was found in northern Denmark, buried under layers of ice and soil with other Viking artifacts. "The Shadow World," I shouted. "It's temporary," she said hastily. "See, right there. It says temporary. So you won't be gone forever. You'll just how long?" Well, I don't know. Time passes differently there, and it's not really quite that different. The Shadow World, it's actually superimposed on this world. So you'll be in the same location and see all of us, even you just won't be able to interact how long. It's dependent on how much of the blade was in contact with your blood, and for how long. My guess is just a few hours, although it may feel a bit longer. For you, a bit longer. Days, weeks, months. I spat. Years. I don't know, but I could see the transformation already taking place. I hadn't noticed it before, but the edges of my vision had become desaturated. Like beyond a certain point, the world was black and white, and smudged like paint. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, and whirled around. The effect didn't go away. I can see it. I told her, my peripheral vision's black and white, She gave me a sad look. I ran out of the office to find Kira. I told her everything. She began to cry. "What if you die in there?" she asked, her voice wavering. "Do you die out here too?" "I don't know." She wrapped me in a hug. "This isn't fair. Your aunt sucks." "I know. I think we should quit, maybe. That would probably be for the best." When I opened my eyes again, half of my vision was in black and white. I could see Kira's rosy cheeks and pink sweater, but everything outside of my central vision was smudgy and grey. I noticed movement now, 2 figures walking to and fro in the darkness, smudges of white flitting back and forth like ghosts. "Spirits, will they hurt me?" I called to Aunt Gigi. She didn't turn around, and then I realized Kira was screaming. Her mouth was open in an O, but there was no sound. "Kira," I shouted. "Kira," no one reacted. I whirled around at the specters flitting around the edges of my vision. As soon as I looked at them, they disappeared, like staring at a dim star, only seeing it indirectly. Fuck, Kira and Aunt Gigi were clearly moving. In slow motion, maybe half speed, maybe less. I frantically ran around the shop, screaming for help. Nothing. I ran out onto the sidewalk. I cried for help. The people walking around didn't even give me a glance. Then I felt a hot, searing pain in my arm. I yanked back to see, for a second, a ghostly man looming over me. His skin was light grey, and his eyes were dark, sunken pits, staring deep into my soul. As soon as I looked directly at him, he disappeared, but I could still feel the pain shooting up my arm from where he held tight to my arm. He was still there, just invisible to my central vision. I yanked and flailed and struggled away. I fell right into the street. An SUV barreled towards me and I screamed, but the car passed right through me. I was a ghost. I ran back into the shop, paced around, arms still pulsing with pain. When I tried to touch anything, my hand went right through it, like it was an illusion. I stood in front of the antique suit of armor that Aunt Gigi kept at the back of the store, extended my arm through its chest. My arm went through the thick metal, through the cavity, and out the other side. Actually, the cavity wasn't empty. I could feel pulsating warmth under the cold iron of the chest plate. I shivered and yanked my hand back out, heart pounding. Holy shit. Okay, so the suit of armor was an entity. I should have known that. That shouldn't have been a surprise. Kira and I had gone over the manual, but there were almost 1,000 entities, so we'd skipped quite a bit. I took a deep breath. Actually, it wasn't a breath. I couldn't breathe here, but I felt my chest puff up as if I were taking a breath. I stared at the suit of armor, and then I realized it was faintly glowing. There was a faint gold glow around the entire suit. I glanced around and realized every item, every entity for sale in the shop was faintly glowing gold. The dresses on the rack, the books on the shelf, the rocking chair in the corner, the vintage music box on the table. They were all glowing, faintly. Colors of gold and purple and scarlet. I wandered back towards Kira and Aunt Gigi. Kira was sobbing. Aunt Gigi was comforting her. I stood next to them, wrapping my arms around them, but of course they couldn't feel me. I didn't know Kira was such a crier. It was touching. I stepped back, and then I noticed something. There was a sickly green glow coming from Aunt Gigi's chest. What the? I leaned in. She was wearing a necklace of some kind, and it was glowing green. It was a pendant of some kind, hidden under her cardigan, which was buttoned up to the neck. My brain started and stuttered a few times as the pieces fell into place Aunt Gigi was wearing an entity, and she was purposely hiding it. Hours passed. Kira went home. Then Aunt Gigi. I was left all alone in the dark shop. Nothing more but a ghost. At least the other ghosts didn't seem to bother me here. Maybe they respected that this was my space. I came to at 2:37 a.m., lying on the floor, my entire body convulsing like I'd just touched a live wire. I ran to the bathroom and puked my guts out. I grabbed my phone to call Kira, my parents, to tell them I was okay, but then I realized I wasn't sure I wanted them to know I was back. How much did Aunt Gigi know about the shadow world? Did she know that I knew she was wearing an entity? So I walked to the 24/7's convenience store, bought an enormous Slurpee. I waited by the window for Kira to arrive. The street alleyway outside was completely empty. The concrete abomination of an apartment building across the way stared back at me. Most of the lights were off, but a few of them glowed yellow in the darkness. I wondered if the residents knew how close they were to an entire treasure trove of magical and usually evil artifacts, like the equivalent of living next to a giant wasp's nest, ready to break through at any time. I checked the lock several times, but there was really no need. Even muggers stayed out of this alleyway, like they somehow sensed the artifact's presence. A figure finally appeared around the corner, and then a second one behind it. I squinted and unlocked the door. "You brought him," I hissed as I ushered Kira and Elias inside. He caught me sneaking out. Said he'd tell Mum if I didn't let him come along, Kira replied, shooting Elias a look. "He's too lame to have his own friends, so he has to blackmail me into taking him along." "That's not true," he protested, crossing his arms. Normally, I'd use this opportunity to roast him to all hell, but I wasn't in the mood. "You know what? It wouldn't hurt to have another set of eyes." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Really?" He glanced at me, then Kira. "Wow, this must be really serious, if you're not making fun of me." "It is. She didn't tell you." He shook his head. I explained to him what I saw. Then I gestured them back to Aunt Gigi's office. I handed a copy of the manual to each of them, then grabbed a sheet of paper and sketched out the necklace. "Look for something like this." "That looks like a dick," Kira said. "It's a heart." I drew over it again, so that one side of the heart was not longer than the other. Then the three of us sat down and began paging through the manuals. "Hey, does your aunt have anything to eat in there?" Elias asked, gesturing to the fridge. "Behind me, maybe, but she keeps it locked," I replied, gesturing to the bike lock on the handle. She had this employee that kept stealing all her food, and she got really pissy about it. I think she fired her a few months ago. Hence, the job opening, I said with a flare of my hands. "I mean, I respect that," Kira said. "Kevin would always steal my yogurts at work. It fucking sucked. Never admitted to it either, but I know it was him." "Yeah, I had this guy." Elias started. I frowned. We were, very quickly, derailing. "Come on guys, let's keep looking through the manual. I want to find out what's going on. Maybe we can even get some sleep tonight." "Yes ma'am," Kira said mockingly. I narrowed my eyes at her. We were interrupted by a sharp knock sounded on the office door. The three of us froze. Aunt Gigi rapped it hard. The knocking was accompanied by a heavy, metallic clanking sound, as if the person was wearing chains. I glanced at the gap underneath the door. The silhouettes of two legs. I swallowed. "Let me in," came a deep, resonating voice. A voice that was echoey and muffled at the same time, like it was coming through metal. I grabbed the manual and flipped through it. Entity number 512. Class I presentation. Entity number 512 is a 215-pound suit of armor that stands at 6 feet 2 inches tall. It is made of iron and carries an axe. The helmet completely encloses the head and neck, except for a narrow slit that is 4 inches long and a 1/4 inch wide at eye level. Heat scans show that the temperature inside the suit is 98.6*F. However, an MRI of the suit produced a jumbled mess of organs and tissue with no centralized brain, calling into doubt that number 047 was once human. It is more likely to be mimic than human in nature. Safety precautions. Number 047 is considered a relatively harmless entity. No deaths have occurred from contact with number 047. The entity activates and becomes mobile every night between 3 and 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It does not observe daylight savings time. It is not aggressive, however. It does seek out heat sources such as humans and warm-blooded animals, possibly for companionship. #047 is clumsy with its axe. Therefore, it is best to keep at least 6 feet away or stay in a locked room until the hour has passed. Recovery procedures. Wait until 4 a.m. before getting within 6 feet of #047.origin. Number 047 was found in Western England in 1963. That's not creepy at all, I whispered. Okay, so we should be safe in here, right? Elias asked, eyeing the door just as another set of knocks sounded. As long as the door holds, I said, as the door rattled with each knock. I glanced at the clock on the wall. 3:07 a.m. We had almost an hour to endure of a sentient suit of armor knocking on our door. Great asterisk, 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 is this it? I glanced over at the page Elias was pointing to. Dude, that's not even a locket. I said, oh, I thought it was. I rolled my eyes and continued flipping through the book. #274, a fire poker that paralyzed those it stabbed. #352, a sentient bookshelf that absorbed all the information the books held. Sounded fun, honestly, and it was only a class 1. Maybe I could persuade Aunt Gigi to let me take it home. Aunt Gigi, a little pang went through me. How could she have so many secrets? What, exactly, was she hiding? I rubbed my forehead and flipped to the next page, and the next, and the next. Wait, Kira said from across the table. I think I found it. Her eyes were wide, and her mouth hung open. My heart dropped. Elias, and I ran over. Entity number 762, Class II presentation. A heart-shaped gold locket strung on a thin chain, with a 1-carat peridot stone set in the front. Safety precautions. Number 762 does not present any direct danger. When worn, it has the ability to transform the physical likeness of the wearer. A personal effect must be kept inside the locket that contains intact DNA of the person or animal the wearer intends to look like. Recovery procedures. Removing the locket, or the personal effect inside the locket, will halt all effects of #047.origin. Number 047 was originally found in a pawn shop. It seemed no one suspected its true nature before it was picked up by Redacted in 2006. My heart pounded in my chest. So she looks like Aunt Gigi, I stuttered. But it's not her. The air felt like lead. Every breath I took felt suffocating. No wonder she was so easygoing, so okay with putting me in danger. She'd never been the most safety-conscious aunt, but I should have known. Should have known she'd never put me in any real danger. How long had she not been Aunt Gigi? Where was Aunt Gigi? Was she? What do we do now? Kira asked. I sat there, every sense thrumming with nervous energy, the knocks on the door like the pounding in my brain. Pulsing, pounding, thrumming, the entire world shimmering. We ambush her, I said, finally. As soon as she comes in the morning, we ambush her, 3 against 1. Ambush her with what? We don't have any weapons, Elias said. Oh, but we do. We have an entire arsenal right out there. I glanced at the clock. It's almost 4. We'll flip through the manual, find what we can use, shouldn't we? Like, get the police involved or something, Elias asked. We can, but they won't believe in shape-shifting lockets, will they? I asked. Maybe if they see it. Kira replied, we'll call them too, but we need to take the locket off her first. Or she just convinced them that she's the real Aunt Gigi. The 3 of us glanced at each other. Okay, Kira said, some conviction in her voice. At least I'd convinced someone. Smelly Ellie was still staring at me skeptically, eyebrows raised. We ride at dawn. We ride at dawn, I repeated. Asterisk, 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 I hefted number 274, the fireplace poker, in my hands. Kira pushed the number 411, the rocking chair, up to the front door, tossing the Do Not Sit Here sign. According to the manual, it would trap anyone who sat there. For days, possibly weeks, Elias held number 987, a pair of high heels that would force the wearer to always tell the truth. There she is, I whispered, as a figure stepped into the alleyway. We held our breath as the key jangled in the lock. The doorknob turned eye came down with the poker. She dodged out of the way like a cat. Then she swiped at me, grabbing my head in her large, claw-like hands. You little traitor, she whispered, her nails needling my cheeks. I felt warm blood drip down the side of my face. Help, I choked. Elias grabbed the poker out of my hands. After a second of back and forth, he got her. The tines pierced her in the arm like a fleshy bit of steak. She screamed Garter, and I wrestled her into the rocking chair, though it wasn't much of a wrestle at the end, as she was quickly paralyzing. Her stiff, half-paralyzed limbs flailed as she fell into the seat. As soon as her rump hit the wood, she stuck like glue. She tried to scrabble up the curved wooden rockers, rattled against the wooden floor, but she was trapped. What the Elias bent down and yanked off her shoes, peeled off her socks, stuffed her feet into the tattered, cracked leather high heels. I reached behind her and undid the necklace as soon as I did. Her appearance began to melt and bubble and curdle like boiling milk, until the thing before us was a skinny, frail woman with mean little eyes. I didn't recognize her, but she looked human, not like one of the not people that frequented my store. You're not my aunt. I'm not your aunt. She looked horrified at what she'd just said. What did you do to me? She shrieked. Entity 987. Truth-telling shoes. Who are you? I asked. Maud? How do you know Giselle? I worked for her for 3 years, before the bitch fired me. Why did she fire you? I was stealing some of the wares, and some of her food. My heart dropped. The food-stealing employee. She was the one who'd orchestrated all this. Stolen the necklace, worn it to look like her. Not even one of the more supernatural not people. Just this random woman. Why? I asked. I don't report all the items to the board. I sell the lethal ones on the black market for a ton of money. Money, that was always it, wasn't it? I sucked in a deep breath, dreading the next question. "Where's Giselle?" She grinned crookedly. "In the fridge." My heart plummeted to the floor. I hit her over the head with a hammer. Never saw it coming. Then I dismembered her, piece by piece, and locked her in her beloved fridge with all her beloved food. My mouth hung open, my heart pounded, tears stung my eyes. I glanced at Kira, and Aliaste too was staring wide-eyed down at Maud. How could you?" I whispered. "It was easy, I just why hire." "Nadia," Kira cut in. "Well, I thought she might be useful. Selling on the black market takes a lot of time, and I was falling behind on sales enough for the board to notice. I knew Giselle hadn't seen her in a few years, and wouldn't pick up on the difference, so I figured it can't be true." I ran through the store, down the hall, into the office. I yanked the fridge door open a crack, as far as it would go with the lock still attached. The truth shoes did their job. There was a lock of harabit, of purpled flesh, everything portioned neatly in Ziploc bags, laid on top of each other like she was meal prepping, not disposing of a body. I collapsed onto the ground and began to sob, my tears stinging the wounds Maud had sliced into my cheeks. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The police questioned Maud while she was still in the chair, and she told them everything. She was arrested and taken away after the rocking chair released her. The officers were quite confused when they tried to stand her up, but the chair remained fused to her butt. I glared at her mean little eyes through the shop window, hoping that she would be served justice. Kira and I run the shop now, apparently. Aunt Gigi's will stated that, in the event of her death, the shop would be left to the current employees, which was Kira and me. So I guess this is our job now, dealing with artifacts that may or may not kill us. It's definitely not how I imagined my life to go, but life never turns out the way we expect, does it?